Reproductive rights are on the ballot in 10 states this November, including in Arizona, where I am this weekend, which means tens of millions of voters are going to weigh in on whether to restore or reinforce the rights that were stripped away from American women when Roe v. Wade was overturned more than 2 years ago. And let's be clear about what the stakes actually are. The damage done by the overturning of Roe v. Wade has been well documented. 24 states have banned abortion before fetal viability. 17 of those state bans take effect at 6 weeks or earlier before many women even know they're pregnant. That means tens of thousands of patients are being forced to flee their home states for health care, and those are the ones who have the money and the means to do so. For those who don't, in states with the harshest restrictions, some women just die. Maternal and infant mortality rates have surged in states with severe restrictions. Plus, this is shocking. A new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association estimates that nearly 65,000 women in states with total abortion bans have become pregnant from rape since those draconian forced birth policies took effect. Now, on this show, we've covered some of the stories of women suffering and even dying, preventable deaths because abortion care was delayed or denied under post-Roe bans. This includes women being denied care during life-threatening miscarriages and even postpartum care after delivering healthy babies. Watching this horror show unspool in front of us, it is impossible to deny that abortion is a safe, routine, and necessary part of health care for women. When you ban abortion, you ban health care for women. Abortion is health care. But abortion wasn't just banned, it was criminalized. A recent report shows a spike in prosecutions of pregnant women after Roe was overturned, not just for abortion, but for miscarriages and other pregnancy-related issues. At least 200 women have faced prosecution in the first year after the fall of Roe, including the case of Amari Marsh, a 23-year-old South Carolina woman who miscarried in June of 2023 and was arrested on a charge of murder, homicide by child abuse. She spent 22 days in jail before being placed under house arrest. Amari faced 20 years in prison before a grand jury cleared her more than a year later. This is post-Roe America. This dark new reality was actively brought upon us by an arch-conservative Supreme Court supermajority proudly created by Donald Trump. And as you'd expect, it's not a popular part of his record. A recent poll shows that 6 in 10 Americans believe their state should allow a woman to obtain a legal abortion for any reason. That is a significant increase from June of 2021 before the Dobbs decision. So even though Donald Trump declared on tape that abortion should be banned and that there should be, his words, some kind of punishment for women who get abortions, even though he then made that happen by appointing extremist justices who cemented the overturning of Roe, he's now claiming that all he did was, quote, restore, end quote, the issue of abortion to the states, which he says is what everybody wanted. But make no mistake, restoring abortion to the states is code for empowering conservatives to strip women of their fundamental rights. It means life or death for women now depends on geography. And meanwhile, a lot of states have been testing that premise, putting abortion rights on the ballot, letting their own voters decide, and that's exactly what's happening here in Arizona. Arizona's Proposition 139 would enshrine abortion rights in the state's constitution, allowing abortion until fetal viability. A majority of Arizona voters, 58%, are said to support the measure, according to a New York Times Siena poll. But that doesn't mean it's a done deal. Nothing in this state is ever a done deal. Because the very same party that now claims it just wanted to turn the question of abortion over to the states has been working very hard to prevent Arizona voters from fully restoring and protecting abortion rights. Joining me now to discuss Arizona's ballot measure is Chris Love, the spokesperson for the nonpartisan Arizona for Abortion Access. She's an attorney and a senior advisor at Planned Parenthood of Arizona. Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me today.
I just want to go back to the fall of Roe and what happened in Arizona. This was one of those few states where it sort of triggered going back to a 19th century abortion law.
Yeah, right. So let me take you back a little before the Dobbs decision happened. Here in Arizona, our legislature kind of speculated where they thought the Supreme Court was going to go in the Dobbs decision, and they passed a 15-week ban, which was signed into law by our governor. However, that law didn't go into effect until 90 days after our legislative session ended. On the cusp of that, the Supreme Court decided Dobbs, which effectively overturned Roe. And here in Arizona, more than 100 patients at Planned Parenthood Arizona were turned away that day because we could no longer provide abortion services. So we were confused as to what the law was, right? Because we did have this zombie law from 1864 that was still on our books and had been enjoined when Roe was passed in 1973. So at that time, we had an attorney general that was also running for the Senate at the time and thought he would throw some red meat at his base and asked our court to lift the injunction on the 1864 ban. So at that point, we were dealing with the ban that was currently passed, no Roe, and this 1864 law. So at that time, that's when we decided to really get into gear and look toward moving a ballot initiative in 2024. So we did the thing where we hired some consultants to talk to all of the stakeholders in Arizona about what they would like to see and how they could help. We organized our language, and we started our campaign in chief in September of 2023. In the background, there was a battle in the Supreme Court over this 1864 law. And on the cusp of us getting 500,000 signatures from Arizonans across the state, our Supreme Court decided to uphold this 1864 total ban on abortion. That motivated a lot of Arizonans who were on the sidelines to jump into the game at that point in time. And we were able to turn in a history-making more than 820,000 signatures, 7,000 volunteers from all 15 counties in the state. And so now we're running our campaign, our Yes campaign, and really talking to Arizona voters about what's at stake and why they need to pass the Arizona Abortion Access Act, which will enshrine the fundamental right to abortion in our state constitution.
So that's Prop 139.
Yes.
And it's yes if you want to restore the rights. Because in some states, you got to keep track of what's yes and what's no.
Right.
You are one of 10 states that are holding similar laws, holding similar referendums. Every other state that's done it is somehow ended up enshrining abortion rights. I assume, what's your sense of, is it driving voters out to this election? Are there people who otherwise might not have been voting who are coming out because they want to preserve their rights?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm from young folks who are just thinking about starting their families and want to have all of the options that they can, up to folks who were marching for Roe in the 60s and the 70s are really coming out to support us. So our initiative is popular across the political spectrum, across any kind of demographic. So we expect folks to turn out and vote yes on Prop 139.
Right. And one of the things to remember is that when you have these abortion bans, as we were saying, this is dangerous for every woman, anybody who can get pregnant. We are seeing the effects on people who wanted to have children and couldn't get the prenatal care they wanted. They're having miscarriages and they're worried about prosecution. So this is broader than whether you want the right to have an abortion. It's the idea that this is your right to have health care as a woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is how we're framing our issue, right? It's that pregnant patients should have the fundamental right to make personal and private decisions about their health care, especially abortion, with their medical providers and their families if they so choose, and without government. And I think that that's something that speaks across the political spectrum.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people in this state saying they've been in favor of small government in the state for a long time. This would just be a continuation of it. Thank you. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris Love is the spokesperson for Arizona for Abortion Access and the senior advisor for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Arizona.